Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's the Motivator Show alongside, when she arrives, Empress Abner. Oh, I feel so good this morning. I feel so good this morning. Remember, people, this is where we translate our words into action. And of course, success is ours for the taking. Oh yeah, I was down this morning. Oh, I've had my run, I've had my exercise, I've had my warm water, I've had a nice breakfast. I feel so good in being invigorated. Oh yeah, life is good. Life is now what you make it. Oh yeah, let's get started, huh? Let's get started. First of all, let's give praise and respect to, of course, the Galaxy Management, to Iron King, and all those who serve on galaxyafiwi.net. This is the Motivator Show, transmitting across the airwaves, both in digital radio, YouTube under the Motivator Show. That's DE space Motivator space shows. It's easier to find us, okay? The Motivator Show. There you can both hear and see us. Oh yeah, you can see us. It's your choice. Similarly, we could also do this via Facebook. Facebook is also Facebook Live under the Motivator Show. Again, you can both see and hear us. It's a beautiful channel to behold, both YouTube and Facebook. And of course, if you are reliant upon audio only, Mixcloud is the other alternative. That's Mixcloud, and of course, under the Motivator Show. There you are. And of course, if you are viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, why don't you just give us a like? Give us a like, or press the subscribe button. No charge. It simply notifies you of the subject of my next program, our next program. In fact, let me play that little clip for you, just to show you what to do. Or it takes a moment. Here we go. There you go. You press the subscribe button or the notification button with that little bell on YouTube. I like playing that one. Now, we will be joined shortly by Empress Abner. She's not been well these past few weeks, and she was overseas, but she's not been well, and she's working far too much, I must say. But I thrive on work, hard work, intensive work. When the going gets tough for me, my IQ goes up. My energy levels are raised in response. I love hard work, but some people to their own. There you go. All right? I'll do all-nighters if that's necessary in order to achieve our goal. There you are. But let me move on. I want to congratulate our show of last week. And those of you will recall, we had the amazing, how impressive, if I may say so, Peter Babudu. Okay, he's going through the process, and we are hoping and praying, and our ancestors are looking down upon us and are guiding us that he might become the next MP for the Camberwell and Peckham constituency. I want to say to Peter, keep going, you're doing well. The majority of wards in the constituency endorse your candidacy. Now we need to go to the central committee. Okay? That's the process within the local Labour Party. So I wish him well, and our resources and my support is unlimited. Yeah, this gentleman is not for turning. Okay, I want to say that just so it's clear. Well done, Peter. I give respect to you, your wife, your family, and all those who are around you. I wish you well. I wish you well. And now we move on to the next segment, and of course, the next segment is really the one that generates the most interest, I note, during the weeks. Okay, and it's of course the health section. Okay, where I'm not giving instructions, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm not giving you commands. I simply say, well, I suggest, you might consider, and if in doubt, speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist, speak to whoever has access to your medical records. As such individuals, professional or otherwise, are likely to give you advice that is based upon your circumstances, your medical history. But the advice or suggestions I'll give today are general suggestions, general rules that applies to most people. There's always an exception. Indeed, during the week, I had an example of the exception. A gentleman felt able to approach me, and I'm so pleased about that. I'm an approachable person, be assured, okay? And suggested, well, look, he called me counselor. Yep, that's fine, okay? And both demotivator. You never know, it's okay. I have many hats, I have many roles, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm a father, I have many hats, okay? His query is very simple. He's not able to run. I said, well, okay. So you need less impact for training regime, yeah, because of your specific circumstances. Okay. So his challenge to me, I suppose a fair challenge. Why don't you mention or reduced impact training regimes? So today I'm going to. Yep. In response to you, Gregory, I'm going to. I know you're listening. And I'm grateful and I appreciate your listening. Okay, I'm grateful for your ears. Okay, I am going to mention as part of my health suggestions how you can engage in non or reduced impact training regimes. Okay, he's not able to run, and he would like it. I suggest alternatives to running, and I think that's fair comment. Okay, I think that's fair comment. Okay, so here we go. Just for you, Gregory, I will mention it. So, but the core messages remain sound and they apply to the overwhelming majority of those who are listening and hearing this program. Because the stats do not lie. In our community, when I say our communities, I say Black and other ethnic minorities, most certainly Asian communities, okay, African communities, okay, African Caribbean communities, most certainly. This is the case. We have terrifyingly high levels of diabetes, hypertension, or high blood pressures, above average numbers of heart disease, okay, above average numbers of cholesterol in our bodies. And most sadly, above average numbers of those who are overweight, who are obese, to use a medical term, and far too many men and women, and particularly so women on this moment, who are morbidly obese. In other words, they're way off the scale and are actually putting their health truly in danger. And I say these, and I give these messages not because I say again, I'm giving a command, an instruction, yeah, a diktat, as it were, simply because I see the stats And I don't understand why we in our families are not discussing what we're doing to ourselves. Because this is self-inflicted. We have the power, as we always had the power, to make changes to our lifestyle so it's better suited to our health. It can promote our health interest. Okay, so let me begin. I want to suggest to you that you consider the amount of sugar and salt in your diet. Sugar that you add to your teas and coffees, to those cakes that you eat, those sugary items which you're offered by the by as a little treat. I ask you to consider the amount you consume each day. Yeah, particularly in those processed foods which come ready-made, as it were. Okay, you have to look at the amount of sucrose that's in the foods, and you find invariably they're above what the average human needs per day. So I ask you, please, to consider the amount of sugar that you're taking into your body. Okay? Okay? I ask you to consider. Okay? I equally ask you to consider the amount of salt you are consuming. Okay? Salt is one of those almost insidious ingredients that are added, particularly those processed, those ready meals, to those items you purchase from the grocery store. And you don't realize the amount of salt that's actually in these products. I say products because I'm going to avoid calling them food often. Okay, often they've had to add artificial vitamins in order for them to be nutritionally satisfying. But the amount of salt in our diet is too high, often too high. Okay, and in both cases, they are the cause, most certainly, of diabetes in the case of sugar, and of course, in the case of salt, it's promoting hypertension, high blood pressure, hardening of the arteries. Okay, heart conditions is another subsequence of this. Yeah. I simply ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you are ingesting into your body, and consider reducing the amount of salt and sugar. I will mention his name again because, of course, it's important for you to do your own research. My word of but advice and suggestion: speak to your GP, your doctor, speak to your nutritionist or your nutritional pharmacist, yeah, for the professional advice. Mine is but a general advice, general suggestion. And of course, we have an authority, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, a university in the top 1% worldwide, when he noted, even in his own family network, abnormally high levels of diabetes in this particular instance. And the source and the cause of that diabetes epidemic in the Caribbean is sugar. Yes, quite a few sugar plantations. Yes, sugar. Consuming far too much sugar. And it's particularly bad, particularly in the Caribbean, but most certainly here, because of our lifestyles. We're no longer working those incredibly long hours, 12, 14 hours a day in the fields, yeah, where we're consuming and defecating, yeah, in ways to extract from our bodies these abnormally high levels of sugar and salt. So consequently, it builds up in our bodies and becomes harmful. And the effects are in the statistics: abnormally high levels of diabetes and hypertension and heart conditions and other related conditions. I also ask you, please, to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates that you are consuming. Again, another important area for concern. Okay, fat that comes into a number of forms, and particularly forms such as in meats, yeah, that are embedded in the dairy products. And dairy products, I remind listeners, I remind viewers, are simply another form of cow's fat. Yeah, cheese is hardened cow's fat. In the meat, where you see those white streaks, that is simply fat. When you grill meat and you see much of the oil and water coming out of the meat, but it's mostly oil, that is simply fat. Okay? And if you don't get rid of it before ingesting into your bodies, it accumulates in your bodies. Your bodies believe it needs to accumulate it. So you see these bloated abdomen, bloated thighs, bloated bottoms, yeah, bloated shoulders in our community amongst those men and women. Yeah. And what we're doing, we are actually harming our long-term health. So I ask you please to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates. And carbohydrates, of course, in the form of those root vegetables and bread, wheat vegetables, products, okay? It's the quantum that we eat which is the problem, okay? In those hardened vegetables such as yam and potatoes, okay? Not so much the sweet potatoes, I'm told, from a clinical point of view, and then we need to get the nutritionist back on again. But most certainly those other Egyptian potatoes, particularly those that were replanted in Ireland, okay, that we tend to buy here in Britain, okay. And those root vegetables, yams, yeah, because we eat too much of it, both too frequently and in too great a quantum. Yeah. The result is that the products, the nutrients in those foods are stored in our bodies. Excess nutrients are stored in our bodies, and they're harming us. En masse, we are being harmed by our actions. And similarly, I ask you to consider the amount of the rice product that you consume. Okay. Think of it this way. If you eat these products every day in large quantums and you're not exercising, it's bound to have an impact on your bodies, isn't it? It's bound to have an impact on your bodies. So you look at the average weight for a man and a woman and compare your weight to the average. Yes, there's always variation if you're tall or you're stout, Yes, I get that. But the average weight based upon your height. Just do a quick analysis. Trust me, if you're above it, speak to your doctor and ask the question, what can I do about my weight? Because weight is a big factor in our general health. But of course, the doctors and nutritionists, those who are in the business, will recommend you should consume far more fruits and vegetables. Vegetables, particularly green vegetables, those leaf vegetables, in far greater quantum than we currently consume. Because that was and has been our staple diet from thousands of years. The consumption of meat is a relatively recent human activity. Yeah? But plant products of the type that I've mentioned, green vegetables, a broad range of vegetables, yeah, but not an overemphasis on those which are full of starch and carbohydrates. The green vegetables are truly nutritionally rich. I wish to encourage you to consider consuming far more of those items. And drinking the appropriate amount of water, I'm told by the expert between 2 to 3 liters, will vary from person to person. I'm not an expert. Please speak to your doctor, to your nutritionist, to your pharmacist. Yeah? They are best placed to give you an appropriate advice based upon your circumstances. I can but give you a broad guideline. If in doubt, check. Yeah. Whatever anyone says to you, if in doubt, question it. So it's appropriate for you. More fruits and vegetables, okay? Yeah. Not so much of the carbohydrate concentrated vegetables, of course. Broad range of fruits. I know it's a bit expensive these days, but honestly, a fruit a day can help you work, rest, and play, is what I was taught as a child. And equally important, drinking the appropriate amount of water. I've got my water handy here. There you can see it. I've got a litre of water. I'll try to consume that throughout the program. Okay. But I have been running, I have worked out. You might see some slight sweat on my brow as evidence I've been working out. Okay. And each time I work out, you can feel my energy. I feel so alive at the end of it. Absolutely alive. Okay. All righty. Yeah. All righty. Please consider what I've said. Please consider what I've said. Equally important, as some of my listeners would, of course, affirm, you must take care of your mental and your spiritual health. Okay? It is such an important aspect of who we are as human beings. Such an important aspect. So I urge you, if you've got any doubt about your mental health, please do not suffer in silence. Please seek professional help. Go to your GP, go to your doctor, first of all, your general practitioner, first of all. Good port of call. Yeah? Speak to your GP. I'm not an expert, but you will know if you've got doubts. Don't need to speak to me about this. Speak to the person who has access to your medical records. That professional is best placed to give you the right advice and to signpost you, to refer you on to an appropriate specialist. There is no shame. Do this without, you don't need to talk to anyone else. Do this because it is the right thing to do for you. Okay? And of course, your spiritual health is such an important aspect, again, as Africans in particular, for our general health and well-being. Okay? Whoever is your spiritual advisor and can provide those moments of quietness, so that you're able to raise your internal energy levels. So you see, those of you are viewing my persona via YouTube, via the Motivator Show, or Facebook, under the Motivator Show, you see that I'm shining. I feel so alive. I feel absolutely alive. I've given myself a moment to meditate. To push away all the cares of the world, of the world, and give myself the opportunity to close my eyes, breathing deeply, and simply to settle. And we say in Jamaica, settle the K. To be calm, rested, at peace. And those moments are so precious to us all. I urge you, if you haven't meditated previously, I urge you to practice meditation. Okay? If in doubt how to do it, speak to someone who practices meditation. If in doubt, because this is the 21st century, use a search engine, the popular ones, you know who they are. How to meditate. Or if in doubt, use YouTube. There are some wonderful experts on YouTube. How to meditate properly. I commend meditation to you as a therapeutic exercise to aid health and well-being. Okay? An important part of your general health regime each day, each night. I commend meditation to you. But equally important, you must take care. Very important. To complement all these physical activities that you do and the physical considerations. Okay? It is such a vital part of who we are as a species, as a human being. Okay, not specifically related to my own community, the African community, African both on the continent or the Caribbean, because we are ultimately one family. We are a single species. Actually, there's no such thing as race. Yes, there is ethnicities. In other words, groups of families for particular traditions and cultural heritages. Absolutely. But we are but one human family. Okay? A single species. Okay? The attempt by that retarded divisionists to classify humans by non classifications. Okay. I'm not going to promote here. We're but one human family, a single species. I'm able to have a child, or a woman in China is able to have a child for me, even though our two families haven't met for thousands of years. But because we are a single family, ultimately, only separated by some distance, but we are a single family. Yeah? Yes, we have ethnic differences, those are culture and so on, tradition, that's fine. But ultimately, an alien seeing us for the very first time will see us as a single species. Yeah? Slight difference in colorations. Those are just examples of our ability in our genome, okay, to respond to external factors. That's all. But our species remains strong. That's why we're all required, not just some of our family, we're all required to ensure that our species will survive for many thousands, if not millions of years to come. So please don't bend to those who wish to reduce us to a single family grouping, a sub-family grouping, because that would harm the human genome ultimately. And if in doubt, don't believe me, just use your search engine. Are we a single species? Okay, all right, enough of that. As you know, politicians. So I can keep talking on these subjects because they are passionate subjects to which we all must understand if we are to find peace and unity in our diversity. There are those who see it as their interest to keep us all separate, keep us separate, And that's why I want to commend Harriet Harman, who this week celebrated 40 years of being the MP for the Camberwell and Peckham constituency. I want to congratulate Harriet Harman. Okay, well done, Harriet. Well done. Thank you for your decade service. And one of those pinnacles of Harriet's achievement, in my view, humble opinion, is of course her sponsoring the Equalities Act, the 2010 Equalities Act, which has a profound impact on our society. Okay, no groups of people, whether you be of an ethnic minority, whether you possess a disability, whether you be women, okay, whether you possess a mental health, okay, yeah, it is right that you have an access to all services equally as anyone else. It is right that you have access to employment. It is right that you are MPs and councillors. It is right that you have access to employment. Yeah, and if you've got a wheelchair, that the employer should be obliged to make sure that the properties that they occupy are DDA compliant, with the Disability Act compliant, and therefore wheelchair accessible. I say to Harriet Harman, thank you, because that is an impactful piece of legislation to which even the government of today, our opposition as it were, has found it impossible to shift, to change, to modify, because to do so would clearly place people at a disadvantage. So I say to Harriet, and that's just one of many achievements, but I just want to highlight that one because that particular piece of legislation had Harriet Harman's hallmark all over it. So I commend her and I wish her well into her retirement. And I hope, Harriet, you might even keep in contact. I might even get you on here. Let's talk about your time, the life and times of Harriet Harman as the MP for Cowboy and Peckham. Okay, I'd love that. Harriet. So I put the call out to you. So I want to commend you. And I want to commend you also, if I may, just spend a quick moment on your work to promote women in the Labour Party. Another impactful result of Harriet's work. Harriet's work has resulted in the Labour Party establishing as a principle in our national document, our principle that at any point we make a decision, at least half of those who are represented in any part, in any structure in the Labour Party must be women. I completely, wholly approve of that policy. And in the early days of course, when we were so underrepresented, we, the Labour Party, had to institute that some constituencies, some parts of the country, had to have all women shortlists to ensure that women were given the opportunity to shine. Well done, Harriet. Another example of your work, impactful work that will continue for generations to come. I say to you, well done. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Okay. All right. Okay. Wow. It's such a pleasure to speak about that wonderful MP, that wonderful human being. Thank you. Also, now I want to just move on to another shout out, if I may, to a previous guest. I want to give a shout out to Selina Carty. Okay. Selina Carty, some of you might recall, is responsible for the Black Poppy Rose campaign. An important campaign because it gave recognition to the hundreds of thousands of African and Asian men and women who served in previous world wars, okay, and who died, gave their highest sacrifice on behalf of Britain, And up until recently, and to Britain's shame, were not being acknowledged by Britain, by the British government, or indeed by the monarchy either. Okay. So the report by the Imperial War Graves Commission, which noted this was a result of pernicious, bias within the establishment, was clear, unambiguous, and truly courageous. Truly courageous for a report of that nature to be released in public, and for the reasons why my immediate ancestors' names were not included in the great memorials here in London and all the great cities across Britain. Can you imagine? To be so myopic, so narrow? Oh my gosh. Revolting. Even when I say it, it is revolting. So I compliment Selina Carty for the Black Poppy Rose campaign. Because whilst the establishment are changing, and I welcome those change, it is incumbent upon the African, Caribbean, continental African, and Asian communities to celebrate and give light to our heroines and our heroes. It is incumbent upon us to do so, and to raise money for those who are living in destitution, despite the fact they have served and would have been prepared to lay down their life for us all. So I say to you, let's celebrate our heroines, our heroes, and those who have served in the forces and are alive today and have received no recognition. Let's recognize them, because soon it will be Remembrance Sunday. Let's recognize them. So what I'm going to do before bringing in my guest, I'm going to play a little clip produced by Selina Carty. There we go. Give me a moment. Let me get it up on my screen. Here we go.
Greetings, Selina Carty here, founder of Black Poppy Rose. Just here to let you know that your pins and wreaths are ready for Remembrance. Armistice Day is on the 11th and Remembrance Sunday is on the 13th. So if you're interested in wearing a pin to remember the Black, African, West Indian, Caribbean, Pacific, and indigenous and global nations who fought in wars that don't just include World War I and II, visit our website, www.blackpoppyrose.org.
Wonderful, huh? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Selina. A big shout out. So if you want to obtain a Black Poppy Rose, please go to blackpoppyrose.com. Okay, there you are. Or just use your search engine for Black Poppy Rose. Okay, next week I'll have my usual red and my Black Poppy Rose on both of my lapels. I would say I'm proud to support that campaign. I would say to Selina, thank you so much. Keep up the good works, okay? We'll get her in maybe after Remembrance Sunday, just to talk about how the money's been spent and and maybe if we can, hear from some of those beneficiaries, okay? But I really would like the military establishment here to come on themselves and tell us, share with us the evidence that some of the millions and tens of millions of pounds, which is usually raised, how much of that is benefiting. I really look forward to that, because clearly, to have omitted those great heroines and heroes' names from the memorials, the official memorials, well, is a travesty of the highest order. But anyway, let us move on. And before I begin, what I want to do is play another video. And this video will really feature my guest. Today's program will focus on our business communities, entrepreneurs, market creators. I want you to be a business person, an entrepreneur, a wealth creator. What are the dedication, the skills? What is the drivers behind being a business person, an entrepreneur, a wealth creator? Okay. This is an important part of why our community, a reason I should say, why our community needs to raise its health, or should I say wealth potential. Okay, an important part. And why do I say it's an important part of it? Because if we're not creating wealth for ourselves, for the community, we're simply creating for other people. And whilst that is quite laudable, I have to assert that if we are to make a difference, okay, for other people to appreciate, we have to demonstrate that we can do it ourselves. Yeah, we can't rely on other people to do it for us reasonably, I assert. Okay, and in the issue of wealth creation, being an entrepreneur, being a business person, This is not simply working for someone. Here you're working for yourself or for the company that you founded. Okay? And usually you work long hours. And I wonder how many of you are prepared to work those long hours. So I've found those who survive and thrive in business are usually ordinary people, but are highly driven. I've got a strong propensity, I must say, for businesses with both men and women working in partnership together. I have a strong propensity. Yeah. But I also recognize the individuals, men and women, who might be in business. Okay. I recognize that as well as an important feature of our community. I recognize that to be important. Okay. But nevertheless, our guest today is someone who's an example of someone who's come from humble beginnings. Okay. And I know this person because he founded his original business in the political ward that I represent. Okay. So I've seen his journey over time. I've seen and observed his growth. And he's a good example of an ordinary person transforming themselves into a guise that is not in their family history, but has prepared himself for growth. In my other hat, I am the cabinet member with responsibility for jobs, businesses, and town centres. It's an economic portfolio. And I've met quite a few hundreds of these men and women who've displayed those wonderful qualities that gives them the title of businesswoman, businessman, entrepreneur, wealth creator. Let me bring this person into the studio. Let's see if the technology works for us. Let's do this now. Here we go. Oh, does it work? Oh, it worked. First time. John, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Oh, good. Oh, hello, he said. How are you, John? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It is so good. I just love the hat. We're going to
I
talk
couldn't
about
possibly.
the hat later. Huh?
I couldn't possibly come on without my hat. You know, it's part of the. You know.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, young people and elders, is a sign of a true entrepreneur. Okay. Now let me explain, John. Of course, I've known you for some time. Okay.
Right.
But I want the audience to get to know you and understand who are you and why you do what you do. Okay. And I hope that both young and old, middle-aged and others, okay, will be inspired.
Damn, this kind of
We
froze.
do these shows. Okay. Okay. All right. I know some of you, again, we're having slight problems with the internet. I understand why that's happening, but I'm going to have John talking. I'm going to make an adjustment to my internet settings shortly, but nevertheless, I'm going to press on because the reasons why John's contribution is important to us. Okay, so John, before we continue, I'm going to ask you just to introduce yourself. Just tell the people who you are and where you're from, and a little bit about your family background. It'd really be nice, but I know there's real interest in who you really are. John, just introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. Basically, my name is John Otagburuagu. I come from the Otagburuagu family in eastern part of Nigeria. Yeah, I came to UK. I was sent to UK by my father, my parents, at the age of 16, 17, to to basically enhance my academic opportunities. And over the years, I mean, it's a big story that to condense in a very short space of time. But what I can say is, I come from a family of business-minded people. Um, what you might consider as as affluent or upwardly mobile family in Nigeria. I'm hesitant to express fully the full meaning of my actual heritage because people might misunderstand it. But the thing is, I come from a family on both sides. My father's side has royal lineage, and my mother's side, my grandfather, my mother's side was a businessman that used to trade with some Spanish colonies in East Africa. So, and then my father studied banking in Germany, and he came back to Nigeria. It's one of the first few bankers in the eastern part of Nigeria after the post-colonial era. So that's the background I came from.
Okay. So you do come from a family of sort of business-minded people.
Right.
Okay. Now, but I noted though that your career includes accountancy. You worked in Pizza Hut. You worked as a BBC cameraman. And then you went to the United States and became a trucker.
You know, it's
your background. Wow, a trucker. Right. Then you came back to Britain. Okay. So tell us, you come back to Britain. And why start this business here in Britain? Tell me.
Well, let me just put a background to that. My dad was a banker. He had his own accountancy firm in Nigeria. So my and as a first son, his goal and the trajectory of my life was meant to be do my accountancy course here in England. He studied in Germany himself. He sent me to study accountancy. I could have done it in Nigeria, but it's a way of improving my horizon, my world horizon. So my goal was to study accountancy and go back to Nigeria as a first son and obviously inherit his company. Not, forgetting, before the intervention of the World Bank and the issues that culminated in Nigeria losing its position in the world somewhat. So, that was the goal of me studying accountancy. But in my wishes for myself were a little bit different from my dad. I mean, I did inherit the accountancy gene or the management gene and stuff like that, but I was ultimately I'm kind of like I don't know if this is the right word. I'm creative and I'm imaginator. That's not the word, but I'm going to use it. I like to imagine stuff. I like to be able to create stuff and see it. My vision transform into a physical form and things you can actually feel and touch. That is also possibly came from my mother's side of the family because my mother was quite creative. So I came to UK and I did my accountancy course. Then I moved on to do a management course. I did my postgraduate diploma in University of East London, North London in economics, and I went on to University of London White College to study economics. Then, just following my father's footsteps, I wanted to see if I can be able to take over his company eventually. But Nigeria went into a free fall, and the economy collapsed, and everything all the stuff I knew about Nigeria completely disappeared. So obviously, I stayed in the country. I stayed in UK, but I knew I had to pursue a career. So I was one of the first few guys that started working in Pizza Hut when it opened in the West End. I remember the Strand Pizza Hut. I was employed as a kitchen assistant and Strand Pizza while I was still studying. So then we opened the Cambridge Circus Pizza Hut. I think we were earning about £1.30 an hour at the time, So I went on, but during my period of my tenure in Pizza Hut, I finished my studies. Then I obviously couldn't go back to Nigeria. And to have a career that suits my educational qualifications in UK, we're almost basically it was unreachable, not because of my own wishes. If you guys understand what was going on back then, it was really unreachable. I wanted to get into foreign service and maybe represent UK in a foreign environment, but that didn't happen. I went for the interviews, but that didn't happen. So I decided to back into my other career, my other genetic predisposition, which is management and canvassing. So I went into Pizza Hut, and I started working my way up to management.
Right.
And over the years, after so many troubles and a few things that were happening back in those days that could have prevented one from achieving their goals, I managed to get through, and I became a Pizza Hut manager. One of my first store was in El Scott Pizza Hut, so I managed that for a while. Then I moved on to Argyle Street Pizza Hut, which is now no longer there. From Argyle Street, I went to Baker Street Pizza Hut, which is a triple threat. Back in the days, we had delivery, dine-in, and takeaway. So that is my Pizza Hut career.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Black Cowboy coffee. Why start that as a concept?
Well, like I said, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My goal, I've always been driven to excel or exceed what my father did or my grandfather did. By the way, he was a king. My grandfather was a king. I wanted to be able to uphold the family, even at a location, which is here in UK. I could not afford to fall back on what was already the conveyor belt that was already in motion for me. So I needed to continue excelling. I went to America basically to start my own production company, because I already done the stint at BBC, but that didn't work out. So I went into my next love, which is to travel. So I mixed the love of travel and economics, and I decided to be a truck driver. And I didn't just decide to be a truck driver. I wanted to work for myself as a truck driver. So I went in and did what most Americans don't normally do when they start as truckers. They rather work for the company to get themselves fully established. I worked for a company as a company driver for like 6 months before I decided to become basically go freelance, become my own sole operator. So I bought into America has a way of allowing you to create what I do have to say. Yeah, America is quite energetic if you have that mindset. So I told him I wanted to have my own trucking company. I wanted to be a sole operator, and the facilities, the opportunity was there. And I said, okay, you lease a truck for us for 3 months. The final payment is £120,000, $1,000 over 3 years, and it's up to you. You got the keys. You start paying us and pay off the truck, and the truck is yours. Right. And believe it or not, in 3 years I paid off a truck, $120,000 truck in 3 years.
Wow.
So
worked hard, long hours. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, long hours, definitely.
I hear you. Trust me.
2,000 miles a week. 2,000 miles a week, traversing the whole of the United States and Canada. That's long hours.
So 2,000 miles a week. So when I first met you at that wonderful, rather eccentric market store, but it was in a barrel, as it were, in Elephant and Castle. I remember seeing this gentleman with this wide brim hat, standing in front of your, as I said, this wonderful, rather eccentric-looking store, selling coffee. And I walked by thinking, oh, fascinating. I did this on a few occasions. I noticed that the queues were gradually growing, I recall. Yeah. Until, of course, I stopped. A couple of years ago, introduced myself to you as your local councillor. Yeah. I was very impressed because you create an entire concept. It wasn't simply a business, an entire concept, an ecosystem of a Black Cowboy coffee. It was truly impressive. I recall my first cup of coffee from yourself. I recall. I paid it. Just for the record here, I paid for it, I might add. I've got to say that. It was beautiful, delicious, delightful. I have to say, of course, I became a hung customer thereafter, more importantly. And as you know, by word of mouth, I told other people what the experience I had wonderful coffee. I hope there is a small contribution to encouraging the people to go to the wall, to go visit your store. I just love your store. Yeah? How you survive the winter, I don't know. What was it like in the winter?
Well, I was listening to your previous conversation before my time, and you mentioned sometimes you don't realize sometimes you don't actually think about the field you've chosen or what makes you, or how people perceive what you're doing, or how it's classified in the world view or in human perception of what you do. You mentioned that to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a certain kind of person. You have to be a different kind of person. And I suppose if you are that person, you don't actually look at yourself as being that kind of person. You really have to have a certain stillness in you to be able to do this sort of thing that I've done, or what other people have done similar to this. For me to survive the winter, or to survive the elements, all the stuff that was being thrown at me in that period.
Yes.
My mindset was, I know where this is going to end up going. I know where this is going, right?
Yes.
The in-between is about my survival. If I can stay healthy, if I can be able to maintain my strong physical form, my mind is always going to be strong. You can't defeat my mind. But my physicality is something that I need to keep whole. So obviously, before I even went into the business, I knew that I had to keep my weight in a certain size. I had to be. I can't basically be. I can't feel myself physically when I'm doing something like that. I have to be able to be light on my feet, healthy. So I don't drink. I don't smoke. I eat very well. I eat mostly Nigerian food, which is I wash with vegetables and all kind of stuff. I don't eat the generic fast food. I don't go in and say I'm going to get a bag of chips and some greasy chicken and stuff like that. Because I needed to make sure that my health is, because I know what was coming. I know how long this is going to take to get to the point where I can just step off a little bit. And I can't afford to die. I can't afford to die. I can't afford to not fulfill the mission because of my health. So I made sure that I was physically fit, emotionally fit, and mentally fit. And you can't be mentally fit if you're not physically fit. Okay? So that's how I survived that period. I was able to, no matter what was going on, even if I had a little bit of cold, I was able to walk through it because I'm already physically fit. It didn't impact me as much.
Very good. So you're able to remain focused for a long period of time because of your health regime.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that because I remember my American experience when I was a trucker, and I fell into the American way of life. And my health, I became a little bit bigger than I was because I was eating the American way of life while I was on the road. So that also affected my way of thinking. Even though I was a successful trucker, but it was seeping into my mindset at times because my body wasn't physically fit, my health, So I had to stop that completely in order to achieve this next goal in my life.
Good. Thank you for that further affirmation. Now, is it interesting in developing the Black Cowboy coffee concept as a concept? I've yet to learn of a Nigerian coffee bean. Are you considering investing in Nigeria coffee plantations?
Well, it basically, once I decided to do the Black Cowboy coffee thing, which is bringing together American culture with the African culture and the whole scenario of the Black Cowboy, the whole experience of Black Cowboy, I also knew that Nigeria is geographically positioned to produce very fine coffee beans. Okay, I've learned that we actually did have coffee plantations in Nigeria for quite some time, but they were mostly farming Robusta beans, which is I mean, it's beans is what most coffee shops actually use because it's cheap to produce and it's a bit more aggressive than Arabica beans. Arabica beans is more expensive and is growing on higher grounds. So Nigeria has the potential to grow both, but they will consider it mostly on Robusta beans. 90% of Nigerian coffee is Robusta beans. But as you probably know about our post-colonial mentality in Nigeria, everybody wanted to get away from the farm for some reason. They were brainwashed into thinking wearing a suit and going going to office every day is the way for a country to grow. Not knowing that you have to be able to be self-sufficient, you would have to have something to produce and export. We had other cash crops like palm nuts, palm which was part of the reason why England was there for a long time, on UK, Europe was there for a long time before this discovery of oil. So we had that cash crop that was bringing income to the country. But coffee was not well cultivated, if you understand. The government did try at some point to infuse some life into it, but the local farmers, just for some reason, decided to stay away from the farm. Everybody wanted to send their children to become office workers, typewriters, typists, and all whatnot. So they ignored their farms, and coffee farming basically was depleted. And my goal in life, one of my goals basically, is to bring that back. We have the opportunity in the southeastern part of Nigeria, which has higher plains. We actually have a Nigerian Arabica coffee bean in that part of the country, which has not been exploited. So
okay. Say that again. I didn't realize there is a Nigerian Arabica bean.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because that area is geographically positioned to produce. It has a higher elevation to produce that high quality Arabica beans, which is what I use in my shop. I have high grade Arabica beans rather than Robusta beans, which is growing on lower ground. So I want to basically invest my life and my time, as long as whatever is left of it, to re-energize the Nigerian coffee industry and be able to, just like the Indonesians did. A few years ago, you didn't know about Indonesian coffee. I remember there was one or two people that decided we're going to do it. We're going to get this to the market. And they started off with the Robusta beans, and now Robusta Indonesian was awash in the whole world. Then they brought in the Arabica beans. Now Indonesia is known as a major coffee producer. It wasn't before. So I believe Nigeria, with my kind of mindset and my energy, my energy level, which is boundless, and I will be able to re-energize the coffee industry in Nigeria, coffee farming in Nigeria, and then bring it slowly to the world through the conduit of my business.
Some clarity. So is there a difference between coffee from Africa, the Caribbean islands, or South America? If there's a difference, I'm sure it's subtle, but it's the same plant effectively. But what might be the difference in flavouring and so on?
Well, like I said, I mean, it's basically the coffee beans. The closer you are to the equator, your proximity to the equator determines the level, the grade of your coffee beans, especially Arabica beans. But still, having said that, you can't grow a Robusta beans everywhere. You still have to be proximal to the equator to be able to grow those kind of beans. But higher elevations allows you to grow the Arabica beans because it's much more precise in its farming methods. So there are different taste notes. Ethiopia, which is known as the originator of coffee, as most people don't know, but coffee actually came from Ethiopia and was taken and transferred.
Hold on, John. Again, this is one of those golden nuggets which is not generally appreciated. Say it again, because I want to encourage listeners and viewers to do their own research to validate what you just said. Please say it again. Where did it come from?
Coffee, the original coffee bean, originally came from Ethiopia and had different people from across the world, that took it and replanted it in different parts of the world. I thought it was a well-known fact, but apparently it's not. People actually assume that coffee is a foreign entity to Africa. It's mind-boggling. If I can explain a little bit further as a coffee entrepreneur, in my shop, I get people coming, mostly everybody comes in, especially Italians, and I said, "Oh, can you make an Italian coffee?" And always my response is, "Hey, buddy, I apologize, but there's no such thing." I mean,
Okay.
then they say, "What do you mean there's no such? I'm Italian. I know there's Italian coffee." I said, "Dude, okay, do research it. Try and do research." Italy, at some point, was in Africa. Where was it? Ethiopia. Where did it try to invade? Ethiopia. Okay, so the Arabian Peninsula is right next to Ethiopia. So the Arabs, whatever they were at that time, whatever they were, of the new Arabs or the old Arabs, used to go through Ethiopia, and that's how the Ethiopian coffee went into the Arabic Peninsula. Then the Germans, when some Germans came through to Ethiopia and took Ethiopian coffee beans and went all the way down to Kenya and other parts of East Africa and replanted it in those areas. Okay,
right.
so I know fully the history of coffee, and Ethiopia is very pivotal, very central to that. And Ethiopian coffee, even though it's expensive to purchase, I do have Ethiopian brand in my, it's very very delicate. It's mostly sweet. It's of the sweet kind of coffee, but it can also be, depending on how you roast it, it can also be quite strong. But it's mostly sweet. It has a sweet delivery to it. So and then the Brazilian, because of the soil does change how coffee tastes. It's a subtle change, but the geographical area, the soil in that area over the years has had little changes, just like as we humans have changes when we move to different parts of the world. Coffee beans is the same thing. So the taste will change depending on the soil content of the geographical region. So Brazil is a very good coffee producer. They know how to market their coffee. It's a well-oiled business, Brazil. Then, of course, Jamaican, what's it called? I forget the name of the coffee bean.
Blue Mountain.
Blue Mountain. Okay, the Blue Mountain coffee. It's also quite sweet in a way. And I think it's mostly to do with the marketing skills that will be able to elevate certain types of coffee. Okay, because you can have good quality beans, or depending, so long as you're proximate to the equator, you're able to produce good quality beans. But your marketing skills, your ability to bring it to the world market is what matters. I must say coffee is coffee. There's grades of coffee, but it's how you market your coffee that elevates the stature of the coffee.
Very good, very, very good. And it's exciting to hear you speak so passionately about your product, and of course, I'm sure you've taught a number of people, those who are listening or viewing, as to the origins of the Arabica beans. Actually, it comes from Ethiopia. As it is usually the case, most of the world's most cherished possessions are usually coming out of Africa. And I note, and I've said this every week, that 98% of all the manuscripts, the artifacts that's been produced by African cultures over the thousands, millennia that have passed, are now being held in either European or American or Far Eastern private or public collections. And as a result, there's a certain amnesia amongst us Africans because our manuscript, our history, is being held outside of the continent. And that's what is causing the confusion and why you see so many of our people worldwide that behave in ways which are truly un-African. But I see the Renaissance. It's an organic, inevitable process. And what you are demonstrating, and I'm assuring you that those who are listening will teach what you've just taught us today to our children, and they will teach to their children. And long may you continue your work. I'm particularly keen, John, that the black coffee concept is expanded. Do you have plans for expansion? I know you in my ward, you see, but that's one ward in a single borough. The potential for your brand is enormous. Do you intend to expand?
Well, of course I intend to expand it. That's always been the goal. And I don't really, some people have imagined if you imagine an obstacle, the obstacle will present itself. Okay. When after coming back from America, I realized that most of the stuff that I've done in the past, I have reimagined the obstacles that were set by the public, by the wider public, and that is the obstacle that I should have. I had actually accepted it and digested it, and it affected my growth while I was here in UK. So having lived in America, I broke the chains. I broke the chains from that. I realized that not realized, but I kind of accepted the fact that everything that I do, everything I'm going to do in the future from now on, once I came back into the UK, will be down to me 99.9%.
Absolutely.
If the world doesn't accept me, I will make the world accept me. Yeah, I am much stronger than the world, actually, to be honest with you. Okay, so my goal is to make my coffee bean, in all the different. I'm going to have coffee beans from different parts of the world. Black Cowboy coffee will be in every UK household in the future. So now my goal is to meander to find a way to get this to happen. So I have ways you can either do crowdfunding, or you can use different funding methods, but you have to give it time. You have to be able to say, okay, this is going to happen at this time. This is going to happen at this time. Always be prepared to circumvent any issue that comes your way. You don't, like we say in America, I don't take no prisoners, as I say in America. I'm going to push forward with this. I've been to Scotland with my children. I went to Edinburgh. Believe it or not, I lived in UK for so many years and I never actually went to Scotland. But since I started the coffee business, I knew that I'm going to be in Scotland. I imagined my being right from 2015. I knew that I was going to be in Scotland. My coffee beans will be in Scotland. So now I began making visits with my children to parts of Scotland to acclimatize not just myself, but my children to the idea that we will be in Scotland in the business, in the guise of the business, or even in the physical form, as Scotland being one of our conquests, if you want to put it that way. So I've enabled my children to see other parts of the UK, because that's what I want our family to. I want our UK to see us, our enterprise, just the same way it sees Starbucks or the same way it sees Costa Coffee. It's not ethnic. It's not, even though it's called Black Cowboy Coffee, it's not engineered to kind of just for Black people.
No.
It's driven by a Black person with a very strong self-affirmation, self-confidence, and I'm going to sell you coffee that has my image on it.
Yes.
But the coffee beans inside the image is high quality, and you cannot mess with high quality, no matter what the mental disposition is. Once you make quality, you will know it's quality. It kind of smacks in the face, and you have no choice but to accept it. Even though you might have other political inclinations towards whoever is doing it, you'll understand that it's quality. So once I was able to resource quality coffee beans, I knew it's done. I know I'm gonna get this done. Now you've got the branding side of it to come. So I had to refine my brand, my branding, my color scheme, and everything to suit the human palate, psychological palate. So I think I've achieved it. And the people I'm dealing with right now, the roasting company that roasts my coffee, that were quite energized and happy to have a meeting with me and promise that, look, whatever direction I want to go, we're with you. Okay. So now I have to decide at some point in the future, when I'm big enough, either to stay with the same company or I'll roast my own coffee beans. But I think the tradition is that I'm going to be roasting my own coffee beans directly by myself. So I will resource the beans from different parts of the world and now have Black Cowboy Coffee Roastery. Possibly, hopefully, my goal is hopefully to have it centered in Southwark. Okay, because I know this is a Southwark-born business. I will grow up in Southwark, and I want Southwark to have that pleasure of saying Black Cowboy Coffee was formed in Southwark, grew in Southwark, is headquartered in Southwark, and it will bring in revenue for Southwarkians, young and old, for all different mixes. I want them to have pride in the sense that somebody like me, who grew up, and my first child was born in Wendover House, which is in Toller Street. Okay, Aylesbury Estate. I am a Southwarkian through and through. So for me to now be in central location in Southwark, I'm hoping to bring Southwark, elevate Southwark more than anybody else has done in the past. Yes, what Charlie Chaplin and Michael Caine did, but nobody knows that. Nobody knows that because they are all in the film world. I want Southwark to have, when you see Black Cowboy coffee, it's going to say formed or born in Southwark. You know, like Seattle has a Starbucks. I want the same thing for Southwark. And I know that I'm going to be able to do it because there's nothing, no matter what the adversity is, I'm going to be able to overcome it to get it there. So
I'm very confident that you will. I know you. You are an example of the burgeoning business community that we have here in Southwark and London. The entrepreneurship, your craft, you clearly have demonstrated you understand what to do. You have a plan to move forward. Okay. What advice? Because there will be hundreds, if not thousands, of those who will view this recording. Okay. What advice would you give to a budding entrepreneur, business person, young or old or middle-aged? What advice might you give to them? You know? Hopefully they don't, I suspect they won't enter the coffee bean business, but in the business that they choose. What advice would you give to them? What are your maybe 3 or 4 rules that you apply in business?
First of all, you have to actually determine, am I strong enough?
Indeed.
Mentally, you know, because what you're doing to start a business is basically you're giving birth to a business entity. It's like the most awesome thing one can imagine is we as men don't experience it. You know, it's a woman who gives birth. I've been fortunate enough to see some of my children being born in hospitals.
Wonderful experience, isn't it?
It is
wonderful experience.
I tell you what, it's I don't like to think about it because it's so painful to think about. You know, it's probably one of the hardest things a human being can do. Now you need to multiply that 10 times if you're going to be an entrepreneur. I'm being honest with you. Okay, I'm not saying as a man I'm bigger than, but if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's a longer period of time than just 9 months and then gruesome, horrible pain of giving birth. This is a pain that lasts for a longer period.
Yes.
Okay, it's spots and spots of pain. So you've got to make sure that you're mentally strong and you're willing to challenge people or opinions that may oppose your mission. And you being able to do that, you have to not really down. Okay, you really you can't be apologetic. You can't be a soft touch. It can't be a walkover. You're going to be able to push your mission through, you know, and do what it takes. I call it not just emotional intelligence, it's situational intelligence. You have to have situational intelligence. You will know when to push and when to ease off on the brakes. You will know who to say, shut up. You know who to say, I welcome you. Okay. All of them might be, all these people you're talking about might be in higher positions, but you have to be able to control how people perceive you and see you. And anybody else that is not following your narrative, you got to push aside. So you have to be strong enough to do that. And you can't be apologetic. You can't be like the old school folks who think, oh, we're such nice people. We have to be so nice to everybody. No, you can't. You can't. That is the old black mantra where, oh, black people are so nice. We're so wonderful to the rest of the world because we accept you. You're my visitor. I'm going to treat you so wholesomely. No, you're gonna be erased from the universe if you continue doing that. So you have to be strong. You have to be able to say the person in front of you, the man in front of you, dude, you aren't touching me. This is mine. You are not going to come near it because this is my domain. Okay, you have to be strong, physically, mentally, mostly mentally. So that is my advice. Whatever you want to do, it's your passion, but it's not just about the passion and say, oh, I'm going to do that. No, how big do you want it to be? If you want it to be small, then be small. If you have big plans, then think big and be big from the onset. So that's my advice. It's a long verbiage. It's a long, big verbiage, but it is what it is. It's not, to be a businessman is not something you just walk into, or to be an entrepreneur, it's not something you walk into. It's the hardest thing you probably will ever do because it's a lifelong thing. And if you fail, I don't call it failure. If this doesn't succeed, you energize yourself and start all over again. Just keep doing it until you drop off the planet. That's all you're going to do.
Right. I hear you. We hear you. We hear you. And I can testify. I've seen the long, intense hours that you have worked. Yeah. I've seen the emotional price that you have committed to your venture. Okay. And I've observed you sit down for long periods of time to study your craft. So you're able to articulate this in such a way, such brilliance here today. And I applaud you. I absolutely applaud you. Absolutely applaud you. And the advice you've given is profound for those who are aspiring to gain your status as a business person. And I look forward to helping those like yourself and others to get into business. And part of my portfolio, you might recognize as a cabinet member for jobs, businesses, and town centres, the sort of economic lead in the cabinet here in Southwark. We have a special fund, and those of you who live in Southwark or work in Southwark or wish to be a business person in Southwark, we have a special fund particularly aimed at those who might have barriers to enter into the business community. Okay? Called the Pioneers Fund. And I ask those who are listening or viewing just to use your search engine and look up the Pioneers Fund. Okay? And that fund is specifically targeted at those who might have barriers to enter into the business community. I wish to commend the Pioneers Fund to those of you who wish to receive both technical and professional advice, who wish to receive grant funding, seed funding to get their venture off the ground. It's usually used as a means to anchor in private sector or loan from the a means to open doors for other financial opportunities to invest in the business. So I look forward to those who live or work in Southwark to access the Pioneers Fund. Okay. My last question for you, and I'm really appreciative of your time. I know you've got a business to run. Okay, you've got a business.
I'm actually dedicating today is our day. I'm so happy to be here. So I'm not actually working today. I've got my very high, capable people working right now. So
appreciate it. Okay, and those who are watching us via YouTube or Facebook, please press the like button. Okay, press that like button like that. There you are. I've got my thumb up for you. So if I may, John, just to pursue the ideas. So of course, you said you want to expand and you will expand across the country. You talked about Scotland being another area. Okay. What has been for you the biggest challenge to develop your business? What has been the biggest challenge?
Obviously, the biggest challenge is the external challenge, which is to acquire funding.
Yes.
I don't want to, because I don't know how much time I have. I don't want to go too deep, but if you know, when you in our community where we strive, we have children, we have things that we need to spend money on. Our financial status in our community is not as wholesome as other communities. So when you're growing up, when you're doing the stuff you're doing, you always have to remember that your credit record is what will determine the kind of funds you'll be able to access. Now, having said that, I'm not saying it's a fair system, because we have to struggle not being able to have the right jobs or the most well-paying jobs in order to have that good credit record over the generationally in our families. So our problem in the community is that we haven't had that generationally. So we struggle at each stage of the game to get access to funding based on the fact that we are part of this community. So, but still, we now have, compared to the past, I've been able to access quite minimal funding from places I wouldn't have been able to get it in the past, because those doors are being opened by some of our predecessors, and the fact that we also have Black folks within the political class in a way. So we not have not enough. It's not enough, I have to say. Even with the ones that are still there right now, I'm not doing enough because they're pandering to the wrong to the wrong things. We're not really very inward looking as Black people, I have to say. I just needed to say that. So we're able to see now our defenders, no matter how small they are, saying, okay, look, this is what we'll be going through. Can you give us a chance at least? Let us in, you know? And people like me now, once they can see the excellence in what you're doing, they start thinking, okay, why not? You know, why not? Let's see where this goes. Because you know, as people who have been impacted by colonialism and all that stuff, and our wealth has been what has elevated this part of the world for so long, I truly believe that it's a very small fraction that we're getting, that we're being allowed as a group in order to allow our children to have the same standard of living as everybody else, which is the ultimate goal. I have 5 children. And in my head, I do not want to depart this planet knowing that my children will still be going through that same struggle. So to get funding is difficult. I have to accept it. Okay? Let's just say what it is. It is what it is. Get funding for someone like me, very difficult. Okay?
Again, I just want to make, if I may, John, just make sure it's important to get a distinction. So, of course, I mentioned the Pioneers Fund, which is specifically designed to support budding entrepreneurs or those who are in business and want to go up the next rung of the ladder. So that's here in Southwark, okay? So, and the other part of the capital acquisition, of course, is through the financial sector, banks and other institutions. Okay? And I just want to get a clear distinction. So we have a clear policy in Southwark to want to support those who have traditionally experienced barriers to get into business. But we hope that the banks, because there's some banks involved here, will also be open and receptive to receiving applications for loans, for capital, from those entrepreneurs that the council and other institutions have been supporting. And what now you're referring to is the attitude of the financial sector to our community. Okay, and I hear that. Okay, and it is a interesting challenge. Okay, I'm not able to articulate today strategies, okay, but be assured, at least in terms of my portfolio, it's on my radar. It is on my radar. Okay, and I have determination, you know, for the guys in respect of developing entrepreneurship. Okay, but be assured, it's on our radar. But it doesn't overcome the encompasses within interesting. But I'm very conscious that our community, whilst there are aspects which are poverty, there's significant numbers of our community who are very wealthy. Significant numbers. In fact, the numbers are quite astonishing. In fact, okay. And I suppose I might, through you, give an appeal that those who have the capital, have the means, should look seriously at the financial framework, the investment framework that you build, that they can invest in with confidence. Would that be a right way of proceeding, John?
Actually, I know that sometimes I do go on the roundabout to get to my point. I was coming to that because people assume that there is not much money in our community. There is a lot. There is a lot. There are a lot of foreign dignitaries from different parts of Africa, even in UK, who are able to, should be able to. You know, I'm appealing to them. We have. There's money to be made. End of the day, there's money to be made. People like me and other Black entrepreneurs are willing. We are willing to put our foot on the pedal to achieve that goal. We just need some of these individuals, some of these organizations, to just be confident enough to invest in us. You know, like you said, the issues we have are now mostly with the financial institutions. The Southern Council has been very wholesome. They've been very, very, in my opinion, they've been quite helpful in enhancing my business, particularly because I've had so many assistance, so much assistance from Southern Council. Also, my initial loan was from the government, the enterprise program. So UK is on the right trajectory. It's opened its doors. It's realized potential lost from our community. So, but it's the financial institutions that are now the next obstacle in a way to tackle. But I'm appealing to those wider community who have access to funds. We are here. You need to invest in us, because investing in us is investing in yours, because it's the future you're investing in. Okay? We need investment from our community.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's a really important key message. And but I realise I've just been nudged that I've not opened the phone lines. So I suppose I should open the phone lines. If you don't mind, if only for a few minutes. I'm very conscious, you see, that I do these programs, but I'm conscious it's quite early in the morning, and what happens that the recordings of what are really popular. So I am going to open the phone lines, and those of you who wish to speak directly to John, and I'm going to just put my just adjust the screen layout. There you go. And the number to call, it's you wish to speak directly to John, the entrepreneur who one day will be up there with the Costas and the other distributor. The number to call is 0208 133 5616. If you wish to speak directly to John, he's here, ready and waiting. 0208 133 5616. And those of you who are viewing us via YouTube or Facebook under the Motivator Show, you can see the screen, you can see the number at the bottom of my screen. 0208 133 5616. Okay. Another question for you.
Right.
Is your business a family business or is it just you?
Well, I think people would, from my utterances, I think the deduction is that it's a family business. Okay. It's a business built on the love I have for my children. There's no way I can put it. My love for my children, I could live 2,000 years just based on the fact that I want to experience my children. I want to. I don't know how to put it. It's a family business. And when I do have the coffee farm in Nigeria, it becomes even more a family business. I'm not. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a family business. It's a business that is born and brought into this universe as a conduit, not just for the world, but mostly for my children to have a pleasant existence, going forward 1,000 years, however long you will imagine. It's a family business. It's a business based on the love I have for myself and ultimately I have for my children. Yes, it's a family business. There's no other way to put it. But the confidence of doing that, of saying that and knowing that is quite appealing to the world, because the world, most people think it's not appealing. It's selfish. It's not. It's called love for self. And if you have love for self, which is what most of these other companies have for themselves, you can achieve stuff. My love is for my children. I love them so deeply that I'm willing to sacrifice every single fiber of my being to get this to work. That's basically what it is.
Hey, I wish you were my dad. Wow.
This is what it is.
There you go.
There's no way of hiding it. It's just what it is.
I hear you. Wonderful, wonderful. Very much. So what role does other members of the family have? Because there's many facets to your business. So what role does members of the family play in the business?
Okay, well, when I first, I don't know if I should be divulging this, but
just give us the roles and the skills and how they acquire those skills. Yeah.
Well, what I've done, there's many facets to the Black Cowboy enterprise. To be honest with you, I have other Black Cowboy enterprises that are waiting to be basically brought into the light of the world. But I have 5 children, like I said. So every single one of them, I have apportioned, an aspect of the business. Okay, whether they want to be part of it or not, but it's going to be apportioned to them. They can do whatever they want with it. They can get somebody else to run it. But presently, my first daughter, who she probably won't like me saying this, but she has a master's from Oxford University. Okay, she's doing her thing. Working,
Congratulations to her. Congratulations to her.
She's a very smart, intelligent, beautiful young woman. Okay, so she is part of the business. My second daughter, my 18-year-old, is I've never seen an 18-year-old so entrenched in who they are and the name that comes after her first name. She is fully an Otagburuagu. She is so, and she has been such a support to the business, even from the tender age when they all came from America. She was 9 when she had to come to UK to come join me because of the situation that I had in America. So she has been, she knows it. She has been a stalwart. She has been a strength in my family. Then my older daughter, who's 15, her mind is as sharp as anything. She is so. Even while I was in this, while she was in the States, she was on a what do you call an accelerator program right from school. She was going to end up in Harvard or Yale at some point, and I think she will. She is on the ball. Then my fourth daughter can compose music just like that. She goes on. She is musical. She is so intelligent. Then my son, who's only 8 years old, this dude is incredible. He's like my mini me, you know. And I look at him and thinking, oh, how did you come about? I'm so happy you're here, you know. So all my children have qualities, are not exactly the same, but they have qualities that I'm so proud of, and I'm encouraging to, you know, for them to cultivate.
I think we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning to you, sir. Can I have your name, please?
My name is Patrick.
Hello there. You've been listening to the show, huh?
Absolutely. I definitely would not miss this show.
Wonderful.
Black Cowboy Coffee, absolutely watching the show.
Oh, okay. Do you have a question for John? And thank you for watching the show.
Black Cowboy Coffee. It's the first time I've heard of it. Where can I find your shops? Like, is it online? Whereabouts are you? Where do I go to get this coffee?
Oh, there you go. There you are, John.
Okay, I think I heard you. First of all, I mean, it's actually right at the center of Elephant and Castle. It's 50 London Road. It's in one of those kind of like fancy buildings of the past. It's right opposite Bekuloo Line train station. But more importantly, you can also, if you wanted to buy my coffee beans, presently you can go to my website, www.blackcowboycoffee.co.uk, and I'll be able to send you my coffee beans. I'm still working on my e-commerce proper website, which will allow me to expand into other parts of the world. But I'm at Elephant and Castle. I'm known in Elephant and Castle. There's no way. Just get out of the tube station. I'm right there. Black Cowboy Coffee underneath Perrine House.
Wow. And I should say, caller, that Elephant Castle is blessed with really good public transport. Okay, we've got over 30 bus routes that lead into Elephant Castle. Okay, from the whole of South London, we have two tube stations, the Bakerloo line and the Northern line, that intersects Elephant Castle, and we also have an overland railway station as well in Elephant Castle. So, John, the Black Cowboy Coffee, the outlet, is ideally placed. It's at a major junction point here in London. So, which part of London do you reside in, Patrick?
Sorry, say that last part again.
Which part of London do you come from? Where are you based in London?
I reside in Orpington, so Elephant Castle is quite away from.
Oh.
But nevertheless, my other half, she absolutely loves Costa, but she loves coffee. So my idea is to maybe give her a surprise, probably order some things from Black Cowboy Coffees, and see how she copes with it. Because why should Costa have the monopoly? Absolutely. I'd love to see this place in other places, maybe in Orpington, where I reside.
Oh, there you are, John. There's a.
Well, you see, that's what I'm saying. It's people like this. This is how I've built my business. This kind of positive enthusiasm. It kind of reflects. It's almost like a mirror to me. It energizes me. And people like him, even if he doesn't buy my coffee, the fact that he said those words, that's what keeps me elevated. That's what keeps me going. And that's what made the enterprise a success in Elephant and Castle. There's people like him. Even when I first started, there's a lot of Scottish people around, Australians around, and the Asian community. Okay, they were so enthusiastic about my business, and this is why I'm here today. And this caller, I'm grateful to you because I didn't even know people were listening. To be honest with you, I'm glad that you. I'm so glad you said that because it's now enhanced my day. It's actually made my day so much beautiful, and I'm grateful to you. Thank you.
And that's my pleasure.
Just hold on there. Address, just so that the caller knows your website address.
Www.blackcowboycoffee.co.uk.
Did you hear that, caller?
Yes,
you've got that. Okay. So
I absolutely will. But I also like to add,
of course,
say that I listened to John, his journey, your journey to where you got to now, and I absolutely love it because I know that the Americans, one thing the Americans have, but the Brits don't have, is that drive to succeed, and to do it the right way. If you've got to go to school in the evening or work in the daytime, they will do it. They have this drive, this, I don't know, it's like a second wind to succeed. And it's going to see that if you've gone to the US, you've come back here, and you're bringing that with you. And not only bringing it, you're actually sharing it with others. You are sharing it with others, and others can see your enthusiasm and feel it. You know, and lastly, someone says, hee-haw, hee-haw.
Yeah, buddy, hee-haw. It's about time. And you should have done the same thing with Motivator Show. You should have said, howdy and hee-haw. Come on now.
caller, thank you very much. You brought smiles to all of our faces. Thank you. Have a good day. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. There you are. Oh dear. There you are, John. You must have been interested. Okay.
That's made my day.
Wonderful. And of course, Orpington. Okay, Orpington. I should have said before you left that there's a train line that goes directly from Orpington to Elephant and Castle. In fact. Okay, so I should have mentioned that to him. I've got his details. I'll make sure I'll get a message to him so he knows. So of course, this is a good time to promote the fact, John, that you sell beans in packages, and it could be a present, couldn't it? For because the festive season is almost upon us, is it not?
Yes. Yeah, I actually said it comes in different 3 sizes. You have the 1 kilogram. Presently, I have 1 kilogram bags, whole beans. Then the other bags, the 2 to 7 bags and 250 bags are both in ground beans and whole beans. And like I said, I have 7 different types. I've even got a decaf coffee. I've got single origin from Brazil, single origin from Indonesia. My house blend, which is a blend of Ethiopia and some other Latin countries, and it's a percentage of Indonesian Robusta beans in it. So 7 different types of coffee for you to access. I have single origin Colombian organic, single origin Colombian Ethiopian, and the list will continue growing as time goes on. I promise you.
Okay. And forgive my inquiry and putting you on the spot. Do you have any brands from Jamaica? We mentioned Blue Mountain. You know, Jamaican brand at this stage?
Oh, so the thing is,
okay.
Without creating division within the family, the Blue Mountain coffee bean, it's I don't know how to put it without. It's something that I will do in the future, but it's got a little bit of a tail to it, if you know what I mean. There's it's not. I wouldn't say it's easily accessible.
Okay.
It's just that it's promoted in the marketing skills behind it.
Right.
Is not as adept as I want it to be. It's not but that is my goal. My goal is to bring those kind of things to the forefront. Okay. The Blue Mountain coffee bean will ultimately be in my package.
Okay.
I don't have many African beans in my package, to be honest with you. Okay. But that is always that is the next step forward. Okay. You go to now. What you do is you access the primal coffee beans that everybody knows.
Yes.
Not just primal, it's the quality coffee beans that everybody knows. Yes. Then you start bringing in, facilitating all these other places that haven't had the same attention paid to it. That is my goal. That is part of my world vision. I'm going to be able to bring all these things forward. I'm the conduit. I'm going to be used to let the world know these other places exist. But it's a way. It's not something you just immediately throw it at people. It's a gradual process. And I believe I have the psychological background and the mental background to be able to get this resource to the public without basically you don't want people to think I'm getting that. Yeah, I'm getting Blue Mountain, and you consider you think you're getting Black Cowboy coffee, and the part of Black Cowboy is Blue Mountain. So I'm going to be able to resource it and make it Black Cowboy coffee. Right now it's Blue Mountain. I want it to be Black Cowboy coffee, and it's it's a very intricate thing to do.
Yes, I completely understand. You're the expert. I'm quite happy. I'll just put the idea in your mind. We're almost out of time. What would be your last message you want to communicate to the listeners, to the viewers, now that they've met you for the very first time? They now know where you're located in Elephant Castle. They can use a search engine and find your website. They can order online. What is your last message to our listeners, to our viewers?
Okay. Okay. This is mostly for my UK viewers. I don't know how many places are in your environment. Okay. This is mostly for my UK viewers. I tell you, I've been to many parts of the world. Okay. UK, knowing the history it has with our diaspora, UK is now a leader. Is now, no matter how minuscule it is right now, but it is actually a leader in promoting our growth. It is now actually a leader, particularly in Europe. You know, I couldn't do this. I'm not going to be honest with you. I couldn't do this in Spain, Portugal, France, or any of these other European countries. England, United Kingdom as a whole is now it's a progressive country. And because if you know that it's a progressive country, it is now your mistake not to tap into this, not to access this, not to bring this as part of your daily mantra. UK is a progressive country, and you need to be able to see it in order to be able to access what is available to you. Okay, we are a pillar, the strength of the UK economy. Have always been in the past and will be in the future. This is actually going to be a greater empire, if I can use that bad word. It's going to be a greater empire purely because of people like us, our community. Now you have to be able to know that and believe that, and put action behind it. We are the ones that will elevate this country back to what it should be, which is a very conducive place to live for all. We can do it. We don't need to access your sentiment. We can do it because we know we're able to do it. Yes. We are going to uplift UK beyond other countries in Europe. Us, not the original people that have been playing the game for so long. We are the new game players. We are the ones that will actually bring this country to what it should be, a world leader in economic affairs. We can do it.
Words into actions. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. I've always said, and you've heard that Great Britain PLC will greatly benefit by our presence here in promoting trade between Africa and Britain, promoting trade between Britain and the Caribbean will enhance the wealth creation here in Britain and indeed in Africa and the Caribbean. Okay, it's reciprocal relationship, not domination. It's mutual respect. It's reciprocation. That's the way forward. Okay, it's in Britain's interest to invest in Africa because reciprocally, Africa would invest in Britain because you become friends, you become partners, and partners support each other. Right. That's the way forward. That's the way to build Great Britain as a brand. I completely agree with you. Well said, John. And I really look forward in a year's time, if we were to do this again, to note your progression. Okay? Because as you know, in this show, it's the motivator where we translate our words into action. And of course, most importantly, success is ours for the taking. John, thank you. Black coffee, big beans. Oh, yeah.
Black Cowboy coffee. Black Cowboy coffee, dude.
Right. Thank you so much for being an outstanding guest this morning. That's the way forward. And I look forward to you progressing and supporting others to progress in their own field, because together we will make a truly successful community. Thank you, John. Look forward to speaking to you later on today. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Bye-bye. 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 Wow. That, of course, is Black Cowboy Cafe. Okay. That's the way forward. That's why I'm so excited of the prospects for enterprise and developing enterprise here in London, and more specifically here in Southwark in London. But it's quite evident that we have an enormous pool of talent, talent which has hitherto not been allowed to shine. And allowing that talent to shine will produce a far more cohesive, solid, firm, stable community. Okay, a community that shares in the wealth is likely to protect its wealth. But where you have large sections of the community who are excluded from wealth, they will not protect that wealth. They'll most likely destroy your wealth. Okay, so if we all included, a truly inclusive community is one that participates not only in the accessing public services, but participates in the wealth creation within the wider community. Create new jobs, new opportunities, new skills, new opportunities, paid internships, new opportunities, green jobs of the future, new opportunities. Okay. So that's the way forward. We've got to invest in the community, and I'm proud to be a Southwark Labour councillor, in addition to my other hat. I'm even prouder to be in the cabinet and to hold the portfolio of job, businesses and town centres, an economic portfolio that allows myself to get involved in supporting entrepreneurs, business people, such as John, on Black Cowboy coffee. Okay. Interesting concept. His ambition, his vision is large, it is wild, it is truly mind-boggling. But remember, success is ours for the taking. And it's important to hear these messages, because obviously there are some in the community who can only find reason to object. There's some in the community who wonder why Africa is doing business. There's some in the community who question whether they should be in a capitalistic environment. I say to each one of them, well, do what is right for you. Do what is right for you. I can only urge you, though, that if we are to create communities that are resilient, communities that thrive, communities that help others to thrive, to be more resilient, to survive, they will come back to us 10 times, 100 times more in positive contribution to our development. Okay, that is how communities evolve and come together and work in common purpose, common aim, common objectives. So I'm proud to have had the Black Cowboy coffee, for John to be able to explain his life journey, humble beginnings, big ambitions, okay? And the confidence oozed through this morning. It's oozed through. But I'm very confident that in a year's time, he would have made steady progression. Okay? Whatever I can do, I will do it. I know that there are many of you listening, those who might want to invest in his business. Okay? Okay. Let's support business people such as John. It's a family business. It's not him by himself. It's a family business. Okay? And you heard the way how he spoke about his children. With such love, absolute, unreserved love for his children. And of course, he's doing this for his children. And of course, for their children. Yeah? His grandchildren. And beyond. Okay? But the whole community will benefit. Okay? I know I'll speak to him about apprenticeships eventually. Okay? I'll speak to him about that. You know? If you're a small business, taking on an apprentice from an administrative point of view is relatively light. You don't pay anything. Yeah. through the apprenticeship levy, which big businesses pay into, okay, small businesses, okay, don't have to pay the levy and therefore don't have the same administrative overhead. By taking on an apprentice, okay, it's a good way to develop your business. Okay? And it gives a young person from the community an opportunity to gain gainful employment. Okay? And one I can stay with you for longer because you invested in them, you believed in them. Really important step forward, and I know that John will take on the apprentices over time. But that gives a hope to the Black Cowboy coffee. Okay? A wonderful concept based in Elephant Castle, which happens to be my political ward, that's fine. But I'm overwhelmed by the numbers of incredibly talented local people that exist here in London. Okay? And I want to give light to them, shine a light on them. So you know that our future is what we make it. Success is ours for the taking. I want you to hear these messages and believe these messages. Working together is an important step forward. Working and supporting each other. Okay? If you don't want to go into a business, I'd love to speak to those of you who wish to form a cooperative. If you wish to form a cooperative and you're based in Southwark, please make contact with myself. Love to talk to you, give support to forming a cooperative. Okay? But the future is ours for the taking. It's what we make it. It's what we envisage. Anyway, there you are. That's the show for today. I hope you've been inspired. Yeah, I hope you feel stronger. I hope you translate these words into action. It is up to you now. But remember, you're never alone. You are not alone. Ask for help. Ask for support. It is there in abundance. Alrighty? So, until the next strong, I remain the motivator. Alongside, usually, Empress Sabina, but the motivator where we translate our words into action. And of course, success is ours for the taking. Until next strong, I remain your humble servant. Thank you.